Amazon FBA Q&A. So I posted on my Instagram and I just asked people to ask me generic Amazon questions. So I'm going to go over them. I'm going to do it no preparation, just going to read them while we go. I think there's like 1,200 questions, so I'll answer as many as I can in the next 5 minutes or so. Should we make a listing before we buy sample products or do we need them for photography? Okay, so you don't do photography with your sample. Okay, so whenever you order from a manufacturer, I always recommend you talk to at least 5 manufacturers or more, get pricing from all of them, and then you're going to order samples from 3. Okay, your samples are generic, they're not going to have branding, any changes you made, nothing. It's just to see their overall product quality. So technically, you don't make a listing until after you place your purchase order. So once you've decided on a manufacturer, you're going to order 150, 250 units, whatever it is, and tell them whenever the first unit is done, I want you to send it to this person. So whoever's doing your photos, send it directly to them. They'll be familiar with this. A lot of people ask for it. So your first production unit, not a sample, first production unit, you're going to send directly to whoever does your photos, and then you should be good from there. How do you reduce shipping prices? Do you use Air Express or Ocean for your 200 plus orders? So sea freight's going to be about 25 days. Air freight's going to be 7 to 10. Air freight costs usually 4 to 7x what sea freight does. So I would never recommend using air freight. Yeah, you save, 20 days, whatever it is, but you're going to spend so much more. It's literally just going to annihilate your margins. So there's pretty much never a scenario where I recommend using air freight. I would always recommend sticking to sea freight. That's just personal preference. Actually, it's not personal preference. That's good margins. How long did it take you to start getting good money from Amazon? So I think I've been selling for 6 years. Okay. So by my 4th month, I took my first distribution. I think it was like 12 or $13,000. Now that's not normal. You shouldn't expect that. That was, my first 3 products that I launched, I did at the same time. And that was lifting straps, wrist wraps, and like bento boxes, like reusable food containers. And all 3 of those failed horribly. And then I launched another product, which I still sell today. So I'm not going to say what it is, but that one crushed. So within like 3 or 4 months, I want to say it was 4 months, I sent myself like 12 or 13 grand. So it happened quick. That's not usual though. So don't expect to pay yourself that quickly. What are all the fees to be expected? So product costs plus like miscellaneous software. So Amazon's $40 a month, and then maybe Helium 10 or Jungle Scout, you're going to spend like $50 to $100 a month. So those two, and then you have your product cost, shipping cost of the product, having a photography for your product done, so having professional photos done, and then shipping to the customer once it's at Amazon, and Amazon fees. So all of these things need to be understood if you're going to sell on Amazon when you're calculating your margins, because if you miss out on one, it could affect your margin by a lot. But you should shoot to have 30, 35% margins after all of that. Oh, and you also have advertising. Forgot about that one. How much money does it take to start? So if you want to do private label, you're going to be between 5 and 10 grand. You can launch a product for 3, 4, 5 grand. Some products take 45 grand. It really just depends on what the product is, what the cost of the product is, how much shipping is. But I always say 5 to 10 grand is safe. You can launch the majority of products with that. What's the best way to find products? So I always recommend starting in home decor. I think it's arguably the best category to find products right now. And just search home decor on Amazon. I have a how to find products video. Go to that, watch that. I literally do it step by step, show exactly what I'm looking for. So, um, how will tariffs affect FBA? So, most people don't realize that tariffs already existed, right? Trump was already in office and he passed a bunch of tariffs during that time. No one ever talked about it or knew, nor did anyone ever say it affected them. Didn't affect me. I honestly didn't even know. So, and then Biden kept all of those, added more, and we still never talked about it. So, the tariff thing is really just fear mongering. I don't really think we'll even notice. But even if it does happen, it's just going to get passed on to the consumer. It won't really affect sellers. Because if you get hit with a tariff, everyone in that category is getting hit with it. So those products are just going to go up in cost. How do you find manufacturers? Just go to Alibaba.com, search for whatever you're trying to sell, and then there will be tons of manufacturers that pop up. It's really hard to find U.S. manufacturers. I wouldn't even try it. They're not going to respond, and their minimum order quantity is going to be 30x what China is. So I wouldn't even attempt it. How do you know when you find the right product? The only way that you know if a product's going to do well or not is you launch it. You can look at metrics beforehand and kind of make an educated guess. So I have certain metrics that I look for. And if it hits all those metrics, to me, it's a good possibility that it'll be successful. So that's how I base it on. But really, you're not going to know if it's going to do well until you launch it, as unfortunate as that is to hear. Why is FBA still feasible in 2025? I mean, everything's feasible. I mean, I could start a social media company if I wanted to. It's really just how well do you know the space? How much money do you have? Anything is a good business if you're good at it, if you understand the business, if you have the money to do it. There's like 12 million products sold on Amazon. So a lot of categories are saturated, but there's still millions of products. I mean, just in our coaching program, we launch like 250, 300 a month. So it's still pretty easy to find products. How do you optimize and scale ads? The biggest thing with scaling is you need to have good conversion. So, how good is the conversion of your product? If your product converts really, really well, it's easy to just spend more money. But it's when you're not converting that well that you have that problem. And the biggest answer to that is time. Like the more reviews you get, usually the better off you are making sure your listing is optimized correctly. And then test everything. I recommend testing every different type of ad type, see what works, what doesn't, and do more of what works, less of what doesn't. Unfortunately, that's pretty generic, but it's hard to give advice like that unless it's specific. What makes or breaks your listing? Reviews and listing quality are going to be the two biggest things. So, how well your professional photos were done. Don't do them yourself. Even if you're a photographer, you're not going to be good at it. Pay someone to do it. It will make a big difference. And then reviews. I always say, when was the last time you bought something with no reviews? Probably never. So try and get reviews as fast as possible. Friends and family. Amazon also has a program called Vine. So you can get 30 reviews through them. But yeah, that's about it.